Hey there guys, PC Guy here with news in tech and gaming for the week, and yes, trying a new camera angle today once again, so we'll see how that turns out both in terms of sound and, well, actual footage wise. It is a very high-tech solution, which is the webcam is actually hanging on the monitor arm, so very creative if I say so myself. And yeah, without trying to do that already at the start of the episode, if you would like to help us get a proper camera, for example, hit the subscribe button. That's what we need to actually grow and invest a little bit more in the channel and improve on that sort of creative solution thing that I'm kind of doing right now. In any case, let's start with the news in tech and gaming. It has been a pretty interesting week. We've heard a lot of stuff. As per usual, the interesting leak stuff is going to be towards the end of the episode, and there is actually quite a bit of it this time around, although obviously it's mostly unconfirmed. But for the start, let's start with the actual factual information that is confirmed and official, and we know for a fact is true. Google Stadia is going free starting today, at least for a while. It's supposed to be kind of capitalizing on people having to stay at home these days because of, well, we can imagine why. And Stadia is going to be free to play for 2 months. This means that the access will be free to play, not that the actual games there will be. You still have to buy the games if you want to play, unless they happen to be free on Stadia at that moment, like for example Destiny 2 Grid, for example. This is valid for people playing it, for example, on their PCs or via USB keyboards or such connected to their smart TVs or whatever. Obviously, if you want the controller, for example, you still have to pay for it. You're not getting it for free. It's just access to the platform that is free. I'll try to do a video on it, trying it out and seeing how my experience is compared to, for example, the video I previously did on GeForce Now, seeing how smooth it actually is after the well-known issues that it had at the launch. Steam's periodic surveys are at it again, and this time it kind of reverses a trend that we have been seeing for the past few months of AMD gaining ground on Intel in terms of processor usage. And this time around, Intel has actually recovered a little bit in terms of the percentage of user bases that have actually taken the survey. The survey does clarify, or in this case the news article does clarify, that this is possibly because of people being stuck at home and firing up their PCs that they don't usually have the time to play on and still are from a few years back and have Intel processors on there. As far as video card goes, the same trend can be observed with, well, Nvidia gaining a whole lot of ground compared to other solutions. So yeah, it can be possibly assumed that this is what is happening to the surveys. We had reported shortly last week on a number of up-and-coming Asus laptops featuring the Ryzen 4000 mobile chips. It turns out that soon enough the Asus ROG gaming laptops are going to be starting to use liquid metal in place of the normal thermal interface material to actually cool their chips and, well, try to provide some better temperatures. Yes, I know what you're thinking, that it would be the perfect moment for AMD to get a little boost by having their dies cooled by liquid metal instead of the normal TIM. However, that was also my first idea, but it turns out that that's not what's going to be happening. This is actually going to be limited to Intel CPUs. This is because of the design of the chips. They apparently, according to Asus, the Intel chips have a spot on there that lacks capacitors and these sort of things like that, that it perfectly allows the machinery to do that, and that those conditions just do not happen to be present in the AMD processors, so they cannot quite use that on the Ryzen 4000. It remains to be seen exactly how much an advantage that's going to give Intel processors in terms of thermal throttling, etc. Normally, liquid metal is only used on de-leaded CPUs, on the enthusiast circles, not really a mainstream thing. So it's also interesting to think how is it going to be in terms of maintenance. It's easy enough to replace thermal paste on your laptop if you use it for several months or years. It's actually recommended to do it once in a while, but liquid metal is a different beast altogether, considering it very often can have conductive properties, and if you do it wrong, you could short something out. If you follow the channel for a while, you know that I'm quite partial to desk cases. In my case, I used one for a long while, I had it done myself, so it is completely custom, but there are some more official options out there. Lian Li is one of the few companies that provides this. They had some very different models of them coming out throughout the years, and they now have an updated model that has an interesting feature in that the transparent glass panel will become opaque at the click of a button to actually make it look more like a normal desk and not allow to see the components inside unless you really want it at that point. Pricing is not exactly known yet, however, if we are to go by the prices of previous desk builds from Lian Li, it is probably going to be in the 1 to 2,000 for just for the desk, no components attached, that is. It does allow for a lot of liquid cooling possibilities. It has a motorized support, so you can heighten it or lower it at the click of a button, as well as some other nice to have things like fan control, RGB control, also on the button at the front of the desk. And it has, well, let's call it a preview of the whole glass transparency control. E3 has now completely been cancelled. There were plans for an online event, an actual official E3 online event. However, that didn't really play out, as a lot of the companies involved were apparently working on their own solo events online. There were a lot of things to talk about this year, with the PS5 and Xbox X coming out later, possibly still this year, unless they are delayed to 2021, but we have not necessarily heard anything about it. We'll have to see what each company will bring to the table in terms of their own announcements and events, and it's definitely going to be more difficult to actually keep an eye on the news if they're all spread out all over the place. Next standard for Ethernet has hit the market, kind of. It has been approved by the, well, let's call it the ruling body for the Ethernet standards, much like USB and etc. All of these technologies usually have groups or forums of companies / people that kind of agree on what should the standard be going forward, and they have developed a new standard which will reach 800 GB specification, so that's going to be a lot faster than what we have right now. Don't expect, however, to have your home connection be any faster in the near future. Your home PCs usually, like the article suggests, they usually use 1 GB LAN, at most 10, and yeah, 800 is way off the mark, and you probably will not see it for decades to come, if at all. This is the part of the video where we start with the unconfirmed stuff, with the leaks, with the speculation and the rumors, so yeah, if that's what you came here for in hopes of hearing the next big thing, well, you're at the right spot. To start it off, Nvidia has had a new GPU spotted online on the certifications filing at the Korean Radio Association. So this is most likely going to be a server / database product, so don't get all excited for consumer graphics card just yet. It literally says server graphics module in the description that was spotted. It's called PG506. Probably not the final name, and it's not known yet if it's still Ampere, if it's still Volta, if it's Ampere, or basically what the hell it is. So we do know that a card is coming within the next several months, but what exactly it is and what its uses will be and how the performance is, it's all very high up in the air still. Intel's so-called Xe-HP or high performance GPU called DG2 has also been spotted. Not a lot of details either so far. That it was also going to be a tile-based GPU. So much like AMD's chiplet approach to CPUs, they are going to be using, they're calling it tiles, but they're basically the same. They're chiplets with an interconnect for their family of GPUs. So the first of these is going to be the one tile GPU, which is going to be 512 execution units, so 12.2 teraflops. This would be kind of on the 2080 Ti region, and this would be the one tile GPU, and then the 2 tile and 4 tiles are going to be a lot higher than that, with a value of 248 or 36 teraflops. We don't exactly know how that architecture is, how much cores per execution unit and all that sort of thing. So again, a nice dose of speculation to go with this, but it does seem like if any of this is actually true, it could be a monster of a few cards. On a less successful Intel story / rumor is that their new chips for the 10th generation are not exactly friendly to your coolers, your PSUs, or your energy bills. Turns out that if this is to be believed, that their cores are actually the 10 core part, the 10900 K, I guess that's the name, is going to be sucking up as much energy as an RTX 2080, and that's a whole lot. They do go through an explanation of exactly how that goes throughout the article, but to sum it up for you guys, they kind of classify the power consumption in two ratings, PL1 and PL2. PL1 is what you would consider the base clock, what the CPU is going to be consuming on a sustained operation. PL2 is the turbo clock, so in short bursts of increased performance and increased core clocks, how much it's going to be. So that's what it's going to be drinking up in all core boost mode, let's call it. So they are reporting 170 watts so on PL1, so that's the base setting. So really it would have 170 watt TDP in practice, and in terms of PL2 ratings, 224 watts, which is the value that, well, they report as being on par with the RTX 2080. They also compare it with the 3950X from AMD, which under load appears to be at 146, so even at under full load it's using less than Intel's part at base clock. Also saw another post that motherboard manufacturers are not quite happy at Intel right now because they have had the boards ready for a while. They've been sitting on them and waiting to be able to sell them, but there's no point because the CPUs aren't out there yet. And Intel is kind of stalling just for the sake of trying to bring down the heat and the power consumption of the chips at the last moment, really, because these are not going to be very cooler friendly. You're going to need a very good cooler if you want to hope to overclock, and yeah, you definitely will need a good power supply to go with all that. Also from motherboard manufacturers, we're hearing that AMD Ryzen 4000 will be arriving in September. Finding it a bit hard to believe with all the delays that probably are being caused by, well, you know what, and also some of the things mentioned in the article that don't really add up. I know we have been expecting Ryzen 4000 still this year, but I would wager more towards the end of the year. The article mentions that, according to these sources, they were going to be launched at Computex in June, which very much doubt. I would more inch towards a reveal possibly at Computex and then starting to sell later on in the year, because it seems way too early for an actual launch. But yeah, this is what the article says. In terms of performance, Note2Check has a different article with a different set of rumors that, again, unconfirmed. It's just kind of telling us what we were already kind of thinking was going to happen, which is 10 to 15% IPC gains per thread compared to Zen 2, so a decent boost of performance, considering there's no process node shrink involved in this case, 32 megabytes of shared L3 cache per core complex, and that Zen 4 in the future will have 1 megabyte of L2 cache and will support AVX 512 instruction set. So a few different hints, both from Zen 3 and future Zen 4, and yeah, we'll really have to wait and see if it actually pans out. 8 to 15% IPC increase will not necessarily translate into 8 to 15% performance boost. That will also depend on how applications and programs and games utilize that improvements to the architecture. So we'll have to really, as always, really wait and see exactly what we can expect and how much of an upgrade it is. In any case, I expect it to be more of an upgrade than Intel is going to be with their new generation, especially if the rumor that I just talked about earlier is to be trusted in terms of power consumption and such. So yeah, I think it will be still a very AMD dominated year. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the news for this week and have learned something new that you hadn't really come across yet. Drop a like in the comment, tell us what you think and what are the things that you're most excited about for the coming few months or the rest of the year in tech, especially this whole AMD and Intel next generation, as well as Ampere, for example, from Nvidia, along with the so-called promises of Big Navi that we've been having for quite a while. And yeah, we just haven't really seen anything like that launched yet. So yeah, we're all holding our breath here, waiting for some decent upgrades. Also, let me know what you think about the camera angle. It's not ideal, and it's not ideal to set up either because it's just hanging there very precariously. on the mic stand, and it's going to be a pain to actually reproduce. So just let me know what you think, and again, drop subscribe on the channel. It doesn't cost you anything, helps us grow in the future, and hopefully get some better equipment that we don't have to resort to this, as well as more possibilities for hardware reviews and such from possible partners that we might find in the future when we grow a little bit more with your help. And you can always unsubscribe if you decide you don't like the channel anymore. So I hope I'll see you in the next video, and in the meantime, as always, have fun.